Welcome to the Awaken Mind channel. I'm your host, Radhika Mia. In today's episode, we are delving into the journey of uncovering our lucid self. Now, throughout your personal or spiritual journey, you must have come across an article or a book, or under the guidance of a spiritual mentor even, you're likely to come across the advice, lose yourself or get rid of the self. So we will discuss that in depth and what it implies and dwell a bit on the latest scientific discovery that confirms what ancient Eastern philosophies have said about the absence of the self in the brain. In the year 2019, I hit a roadblock in my spiritual journey. Seeking advice, I messaged my spiritual mentor miles away across the Atlantic. His simple yet puzzling reply on WhatsApp was, "Have no self." That's it. But this led me to discover the essence of Buddha's teaching, the idea of letting go of the self. Self-realization, I learned, doesn't involve discovering or finding oneself, but rather dissolving the notion of personal identity. So it's a journey of shedding conditioned layers, eventually freeing oneself from the construct of the ego. In Zen, no self is akin to passing through the sky like an arrow or bird, leaving no trace. Now this image of impermanence, it signifies how all things, including our lives, they fade away without a trace. A sage, like a bird in the sky or entering a forest without disturbing a blade of grass, embodies self-mastery, only because their ego has dissolved. The sage's path is absent of the traces of self. Imagine a person reaching Buddhahood. Their clear, lucid self is reflected through their eyes, that is free from worries or judgment. They are liberated from thoughts, unburdened by past memories or images of the future. Interestingly, neuroscience's contemporary insights, they align with Eastern philosophies. Chris Neubauer, in a Big Thing article, he highlighted the divergent perspective between Western and Eastern philosophies regarding the self. While Western thought it sees the self as a controlling force, like a pilot steering all our actions, Eastern philosophies such as Buddhism, they propose that the self is an illusion, a construct born from our thoughts. Neubauer, he had noted that despite extensive research, neuroscientists have yet to agree on where the self resides in the brain. Debates revolve around its potential location, whether on the left or the right side of the brain, while recent studies even suggest it might not exist within the brain at all. The reason, he says, we cannot find the self in the brain is because it isn't there. Eastern philosophies, they suggest this illusion emerges from relentless internal dialogue causing the mind to deeply entrench itself in the self-created narrative. This deep identification with our inner narrative, it contributes significantly to human mental anguish and discontentment. During an awakening, we undergo a profound experience transcending our ego identity and perceiving ourselves, perhaps for the first time, beyond the clutches or the confines of the ego. While traces of the ego might subtly persist within us in our thinking, our emotions, and our inner psyche, but it no longer defines us. Adyashanti, a Zen teacher, he had beautifully described this shedding of the self or the falling away of the self. He said, upon awakening to a deeper being, the ego seems to fade away, allowing for an immersive flow. Now, such a liberation from the ego, it brings in an effortless openness and vitality within us. So the mind illuminates when incessant thinking loosens its grip. Buddha had urged for a lucid mind, an empty self, free from images, beliefs, judgments, and opinions. As long as we refrain from seeking to become someone, to reach a specific destination, or to attain a particular goal or attain something, we move closer to a lucid self. Our journey towards lucidity involves awakening the inner clarity within us. When we are lucid, we seamlessly merge with the forest, the waters, without disturbing, without causing a ripple. just like the sage. So a lucid self is stable, it's coherent, and it maintains a constant awareness. It wholeheartedly it engages with the present moment and with others. So uncovering this truth within ourselves is very crucial, otherwise we risk self-destruction and harm to others. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Path to Your Lucid Self. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Just drop them in the comment box below. And stay with us as we continue on our journey of awakening together.